America was once an empty continent. Everyone who has ever set foot on our shores or crossed our borders, physical or imaginary, has come from somewhere else. Imagine then that some 130,000 years ago, vast masses of ice began shifting in the Arctic regions, with the result that the level of the Bering Sea descended and a great continental causeway was opened up between Asia and America. Over this bridge, on foot, small numbers of nomads entered the Western Hemisphere 48,000 years ago. Between 7500 and 2500 BC, the development of agriculture turned the nomads into sedentary farmers living in villages. It was Quetzalcoatl, the plumed serpent, the creator of humankind, who discovered the first grain of maize with the help of an ant, succeeding where all other gods had failed. No wonder he was so honored in the Mesoamerican world, creator of man, of agriculture, of village society. For there was nothing at the beginning, say the most ancient chants of the empty continent. When it was still night in the dark, the gods assembled, and they created mankind. Let there be light, exclaims the Mayan Bible, the Popol Vuh. Let the dawn rise on heaven and earth. There shall be no glory until the human creature exists. Humanity was born in sacrifice. When the gods met in the dawn of creation, they assembled around a vast fire. They decided that one of them should sacrifice himself by jumping into the conflagration. A beautiful god, arrogant and covered with jewels, hesitated in fear. A dwarfish god, naked and covered with ulcers, did not. He threw himself into the flames and promptly resurrected as the sun itself. On seeing this, the handsome god plunged into the fire as well, but he was rewarded by reappearing as the moon, the satellite. So the universe created. The 2,000-mile border between Mexico and the USA is the only visible border between the developed and the developing worlds. It is also the border between Anglo-America and Latin America. But it is an unfinished border, made up of unfinished barriers, ditches, walls, barbed wire fences, the so-called tortilla curtain, which is hastily erected by North Americans to keep out the Hispanic immigrant and then abandoned, unfinished. The United States needs 5 million workers before the century is over, and these people do the jobs that no one else is willing to do anymore. Stoop labor in agriculture, to be sure, but also service jobs in transportation, hotels, restoration, hospitals, all of which would come to a stop without the migrants' contribution. Without them, the whole structure of employment in the United States would undergo a drastic change, with salaries coming several notches down and millions of workers and their households suffering as a result. But first, we must remember that ours was once an empty continent. All of us came here from somewhere else, beginning with the nomadic tribes from Asia who became the first Americans. The Spaniards came later, looking for the 7 cities of gold. But when they found none in what is today the southwestern United States, they left their language and their religion and sometimes their blood. The Spanish Empire extended as far north as Oregon and filled the coastal region with the sonorous names of its cities: Los Angeles, Sacramento, San Francisco, Santa Barbara, San Diego, San Luis Obispo, San Bernardino, Monterrey, Santa Cruz. When it achieved independence, the Mexican Republic inherited these vast, underpopulated territories, but it lost them in 1848 to the expanding North American Republic and its ideology of manifest destiny, the USA from sea to shining sea. So the Hispanic world did not come to the United States. The United States came to the Hispanic world. Los Angeles is now the second largest Spanish-speaking city in the world after Mexico City, before Madrid and Barcelona. You can prosper in southern Florida even if you do not speak anything but Spanish, as the population is predominantly Cuban. San Antonio, integrated by Mexicans, has been a bilingual city for 150 years. By the middle of the coming century, almost half the population of the United States will be Spanish-speaking. This third Hispanic development, that of the United States, is not only an economic and political event. It is above all a cultural event. A whole civilization with a Hispanic pulse has been created in the USA. A literature has been born in this country, one that stresses autobiography, the personal narrative, memories of childhood, the family album, as well as a way of answering questions. What does it mean to be a Chicano, a Mexican American, a Puerto Rican living in Manhattan, a second-generation Cuban American living in exile in Miami? This vast flow of negation and affirmation forces newcomers as well as native Hispanics to ask themselves, what do we bring? What would we like to retain? What do we want to offer this country? The answers are determined by the fact that these people reflect a very broad social group that includes families, individuals, whole communities, and networks, transmitting values, memories, and traditions. Multilingualism then appears as the harbinger of a multicultural world, of which Los Angeles is the prime example. A modern Byzantinian, the city of the angels receives each day, willy-nilly, the languages, the food, the mores, not only of Spanish Americans, but of Vietnamese, Koreans, Chinese, Japanese. This is the price, or the gift, depending on how you look at it, of global interdependence and communications. So the cultural dilemma of the American of Mexican, Cuban, or Puerto Rican descent is suddenly universalized: to integrate or not, to maintain a personality and add to the diversity of North American society, or to fade away into anonymity in the name of the, after all, non-existent melting pot. Well, perhaps the question is really, once more, to be or not to be with others or to be alone. Isolation means death. Encounter means birth, even rebirth.